it's when you go online, this is what's actually going to be recorded. So it's kind of good. I always have to remember that. So for whoever is going to see this or is seeing this,
Hiya.
hiya and welcome. It's nice if people could chat in too, because we can't, for whatever reason, we're not getting a count on our program, which makes me a little nervous still. Oh, there we go. It's three. We have 3 people watching.
Ah, Nam. How you doing, Nam?
Nam's the first one.
Nam's an eager one.
Thank you, Nam. We appreciate that. And maybe do a little sound check for us as well. So there's always a bit of a delay, but if you can hear us well, it always helps us to know early on. There's always a couple different configurations that we're playing with here.
You're doing well. Good.
Glad you're doing well. How are we doing? That's more of the question. Can you hear us? Does it sound good? And is it going well? And there's always this about 30.
If he heard us saying, how are you doing? And he says he's doing well.
Well, he might just be,
us.
I don't know, maybe he's narcissistic and he just wants, there it is.
Thank
There's
you.
Dan.
Right.
Thank you. There we go. Good.
Shirley.
Shirley. There we go. Rob and Shirley. So,
oh, wow. Here we go.
Here we go. Lighting up. Okay, so we're assuming we can be heard. So we're still a bit early here. It's always the opening thing. And maybe the people, especially, we'll talk about in a minute, but we did have our test mass. So that was kind of I think it went well. It's weird, but it's good. But for Shirley and Rob or anyone else who was there, maybe just to chime in a little bit about their experience. I know it might be hard to express in just 3 lines, but anything you can give us as feedback. It's so weird not to go to the back of the mass, the back of the church.
This was just a weird mass. I was getting so used to the other norm.
Yeah, I know. That's what we were saying. We've been saying mass. Let me know if it's more information you want to know, but because we don't do a lot of ministry, public ministry, haven't been able to do ministry. We I don't always wear clerics, so you wear your vestments. And it's pretty casual, and we kind of go in there. And,
don't worry, we do have clothes in there.
We have clothes, yeah. We have shorts, flip flops, kind of thing, t-shirt. And then after mass, it's so easy. Like we've gotten for 3 months now. We just go in and kind of do our own thing, and then kind of press, send, and then that's it. That's kind of nice. So Rebecca liked the floors. Floors look amazing. Thank you for all of your hard work getting ready for today. Yeah, I think Joshua gets
big credit for
gold
that.
Star for that. That's it. His initiative really too. And what we did was we took out the pews completely, and they took out all the hardware, so that you don't have to kind of work between like little brackets.
It's impossible to do.
It really is, and you can never get a proper job. So we had to get new brackets, which took a little bit of a hassle. And then we put them all back in. I think we're going to have to take the choir out again. That's just one of the feedbacks that we got from the mass today. Was that the singers, if they're not going to be wearing masks, and I don't know how you could sing with a mask on, they need about 10 feet. So we may have to take out some pews and really kind of define that space for them, but that's okay. It's not that big a deal. That's 3 pews. We can get away with that.
Figure it out.
Figure it out.
It's hard enough. Just trying to figure out today.
Well, today was really just about a dry run. So maybe just to communicate that to everyone, because people are here now. We have about 20 people online with us. So what we did this morning at 10 o'clock was to do almost like I was referring to it as a practice mass, which didn't really give it honor. It's Corpus Christi. It's a legitimate celebration of the Eucharist. It was, valid sacrament. But what was different was we kept it quite limited. We really weren't ready to we didn't know if we were ready, but we didn't want to have a chaos this weekend and people coming, and we don't have the proper cleaning crews, and we don't have the proper, ushers making it happen. So we had a very small mass, about 50 people, which is about half, I think, of what ultimately I think we'll be able to do, probably around 100. But so there's an expression with that, never go past 50% of your capacity. So that gave us some flexible room. And then we gave some directives, and people kind of went through it. But it was strange, eh? And we're just going to hear. Well, actually, why don't we say a quick prayer, because we really are at 11:30 now. So, in the name of the Father and Son and Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Lord, we ask your blessing on our parish. We ask for your anointing on our people. A real shout out to those who were able to participate, and those who even came, like the ushers, and Lori gets an extra little gold star. Mm-hmm. She's people are in there cleaning now, right? So that it's quite a process to do this. So for all those people that made that happen, we just want to honor them and bless them. and just keep everyone safe. And let's use this as a sort of a milestone. Maybe we'll remember this years to come and say, okay, you remember when we had the first mass, quasi-public, getting ready? Yeah, because that really, see, that's the thing. The pandemic isn't over.
Okay.
I know it's even the terminology.
Post phase 1.
Phase 2. As we start to
Phase
deal
2
with
mass.
this new reality. So, amen. So, Mother Mary, intercede for us. Saints and angels, pray for us. And may Almighty God bless us. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. So then, Father Rob Arsenault, pastor at Annunciation of the Lord, and my sidekick is?
Father John.
Father John who?
Father John, your associate pastor.
And his last name?
Slovenian.
Slovenian Lakozar. Liquor King, I think it is. Anyway,
yeah, I was asked a couple of times what the word Lakozar means. So I was actually by the Cardinal of Toronto. It was also Cardinal Brozic.
Yeah.
So I said, well, it says liquor and czar. So czar in Russian means king. Liquor, we all know what that means. King of liquor. Yay!
Okay, if I'm working with Father John, it's like he's got an off-on switch. He either says nothing or he has a story. It's kind of nice, actually. There it is. Okay, that's all good. So thank you. Father John Lakozar, my associate pastor, and myself. We are here at Annunciation of the Lord. This is actually our true kind of post-game show, I guess, because we actually did have Mass. Like we did celebrate the Mass. It was, again, very limited. We kept it really small. I'm sorry, I'd love to have had all of you here if I knew a way I could do that. But we thought it through. We can do better. There's a few little things we're going to have to tweak. But by and large, it was safe. It was learning. Like even for us, you got to remember. Like I'm watching all this happen, and I'm trying to make it work. But I think it flowed quite nicely, actually, and we're well below capacity. So I don't think we've got our final numbers in, but we have to take some more pews out, I think, just to make more, we call them choke spots, where people, when they're moving, are moving through a zone that potentially could be a problem. So yeah, I think we can do all that. Hopefully. Yeah. So I think, but okay. So just your impressions, by and large. You were the celebrant. How'd you find it?
The hardest thing for me was shutting up during the hymns.
Yeah, it's funny. I found it as an introvert.
I was trying to mouth it a bit, just kind of breathe, like under my breath, like the Gloria, just kind of saying it, underneath my breath. But I'm thinking, I looked over to you, and your lips are shut, and I think, maybe I should just keep my mouth shut too.
We're actually technically now. Okay, this is where it starts to go. We could probably sing. Now, I should never really sing. That was nothing to the pandemic. That's just biology. But see, it's the 10 feet. What happens when you sing, and let's get into some of this stuff, you create, just like that. So you're creating little droplets that are spraying out, and probably about 10 feet. Now, I've been living in your 10 feet for, 3 months, so we're sharing it, so we're in the same bubble. But as long as what we did was we stayed in the sanctuary, like right up in the sanctuary, basically on the red carpet. So as long as we're 10 feet away from the nearest person, now that 10 feet's
probably about 20, 30 feet.
Well, yeah.
25 feet at least.
So, 10 feet, that's like, well, you're perfectly safe after 10. But you create a bubble. I wasn't singing principally because if I sang, the people would, they're going to mimic us. But I very much enjoyed the music. We had James and Maria were providing the music, and it was quite beautiful. So it was nice. So, yeah, that's kind of weird. And what else did you find weird?
Well, for me, it was just my allergies were going crazy because we were wearing the mask beforehand, and that just kind of accentuated things. And so I was coughing and wiping my nose, and then my eyes were also watering. So I was kind of trying to wipe the tears that are coming down from my eyes. I got scolded for that, for touching my eyes. I don't care. It's my own. So my own breath, my own germs going back inside of me.
Well, true, but eventually you got to connect with other people. That's the thing.
Yeah, well, I disinfected my hands before then.
Okay, fair enough. And we'll work on all that stuff. Again, I said at the very beginning of the Mass, like if I really thought that there were people here who had the coronavirus, we wouldn't be having Mass. It's crazy. I mean, to even try to do it, we got a bit of a compliment. We thought we almost could do that, but no, we wouldn't be doing this. So my base assumption is nobody has it, but it's an awareness thing. Are we aware of everything we touch? Are we aware of when we cough or sing or where our breath is going? Because we don't see this stuff. Like it's almost like it's a whole other level of germs and of viruses that we just have. This is our new reality, right? This is what's going on. So yeah, it's going to take a little while to do that. I found it too, to see the people so spread out, but to see, I guess for me personally, just having people in church again, like that was the biggest crowd we've had since St. Patty's Day. Think about it.
St. Patrick's Day was the last mass we had. We
Right.
were shut down the following day.
Yeah.
But I mean, what poetic justice that we
Corpus
come
Christi.
together on Feast of Corpus Christi, the body and blood of Christ. We are the body and blood of Christ here, the church. And so it's like the Lord has blessed us and allowed us to begin gathering again on this day.
One of the suggestions coming out is it's actually from, I'll give a little shout out to Andrew, that could we make a little video, which I think is a great idea, just kind of explaining things. Communicating is difficult. Today I was trying to keep it super simple, like try to keep it to 2 touches. Sitting, you have to do that. Receiving communion, you have to do that. But if you could keep your hands in your lap and not touch anything, that would be ideal. Now, we have young children with us today. Obviously, they're going to have their hands all over things. That's just going to happen.
Or if you're
Italian, or if you're French Canadian and you move your hands a lot.
Talk with your hands,
But just trying to. Like I'm like it too. Like I tend to scratch my eyes or whatever. But just trying to remember, we want to minimize that as best we can. And then coming to communion was a little tricky too, because what we did was we wore masks, and that gives some barrier. So when the people come up, what we wanted to avoid was this sort of sense of you coming with a mask, I give you communion. Now you've got the Blessed Sacrament in your hand. You've got to take your mask off, receive communion, and put your mask back on again. It's a lot to do all in one motion. Where Father John and I, we're just giving out communion, so we don't have to keep taking our mask off each time. So it's relatively simple for us. So it creates a little bit more safety in that zone. That's the tricky part. So the 2 tricky parts: what you touch when you come in, and then receiving communion. See, it is true. Like in churches that don't have a sacramental tradition, it would be a little bit easier because they don't have that second kind of interaction where they have to move and receive. But we're Catholic. I mean, we have the Blessed Sacrament, so it's a great glory and honor that we have this. But it comes at a price. It's going to be a little tricky to get communion down, and the singing as well. But I thought overall, it was. I mean, just again, I was just so happy to have people back in the church. I would have done a lot more than that to make that happen. So that was kind of good. Good. So other than that, maybe do a little check-in. You want to give a Uncle Dennis update? How's he doing?
He's still alive.
He's alive.
We've let him out of the closet. And
He's out of the closet.
He's behaving himself. He's. I don't know what to say. I mean, his Father Dennis. He's there, and he's present for us. He's a good fatherly figure for us. He's our house father. Every one of our companions' houses has a kind of one person is designated as house father. So we've designated him as house father. I guess the biggest news about him is that he's officially retiring.
That might not be public yet.
Okay, take that back.
Remember that off on switch we talked about earlier?
Yeah, it's defective.
He's considering it as he gets a little bit older. Wouldn't it be interesting if that were to happen? Yeah, so there we go. All right, so other news. I think one of the questions that came up was, we finish up with Josh. So Josh is getting to his last 2 weeks.
Yeah. So he's going to be leaving. It's going to be strange not having him around. He's such a great part of our household.
I know, it's just it's kind of a natural on a couple levels. A, all the incredible amount of work that he did for us. And then B, just as a brother. It's just nice to have him. He's just this steady Eddie guy that kind of hangs in there, and he's just been cooking even last night. Like a real heart of service, I think. So he cooks, and then cleans up. Like I was thinking to myself, I was a little guilty. Normally you either cook and clean, or you clean or you cook, but he tends to do both. And if we don't push him out of the sink, he'll do both. But yeah, he's getting ready. I think he's off golfing this afternoon actually, so he's got a little extra time.
With his dad.
Yeah, so it's good.
You got some little news. You got a little piece of bark there.
Oh yeah, I did. We got some hardwood. So there's been the hardwood saga up in my room. So we do have 300 feet of it, actually, square feet of it. I think at least
maple.
300. It's a nice maple. Has a few nails in it, but I'm pulling the nails. So if you have a trick for pulling nails out of hardwood, I'd probably be interested in that. Not a big deal. We can just hammer them out. We just work away at it. But yeah, delightful. It's nice stuff. It's a little bit lighter, and it is the real deal. So hardwood.
Solid hardwood.
Solid hardwood.
I think I'm gonna keep a couple of those from pen blanks.
You got enough to make about 10,000 pens, I think. Even this could make it half a dozen. So, yeah. So it's good. Yeah, so that's good. Probably heading down to Kingston too. Some of my own personal news, like a couple days. The actual saying mass, and we had a funeral yesterday, and of course the taping of the mass last night. We've gotten used to all that stuff. All three of those were pretty good, actually. A little shout out to Dorothy Moore's family. She had passed away. She was a longtime parishioner here. They left beautiful. See those the flowers? They left these beautiful. Oh my goodness, they were stunningly beautiful. And sometimes the family will leave some, and again, understandable. Some they take them with them, and it's part of their thing. They took a few roses, some of the younger children, but they left us three beautiful arrangements, yeah. which was what you saw in church today. So it's really quite nice. So yeah, a little shout out to them. So all of that was relatively easy, and to be honest with you, to do ministry again. Remember, that's the first funeral I've really done, be it a small one, it's like 10, 11 people there, in 3 months. But getting to that, this has been a very intense week. Like just all the details and the government making the announcement on Monday, and we had an all-day meeting with the diocese. Is prearranged, but on Tuesday, and then the directives didn't come out really till Thursday, and we're trying to anticipate what they might look like. Now, can we actually pull this off Friday, which is really just one day? Then you have to do the ministry side of it, right? So all the planning is one thing, but then you have to, what the homily might sound like, and so that's all great, but short of it, I'm tired.
So you know what I found strange?
Float on my boat for a while.
Was just hearing my voice come through the microphone.
Yeah. I said the same thing to Tony.
It's so I've become so used to not having my voice being projected out into the church. Even when we tape the mass, we don't have the sound system on, so you don't have that booming sound of my voice coming through the speakers. And all of a sudden, I'm hearing and I go like, whoa.
Yeah, it's kind of good. So there were two notes I want to just refer to. I said the same thing too. Like the PA system, although you've been hearing it through the taping, what Tony did was he muted it to us because it just might create a bit of an echo, and we don't really need to hear it, right? So we've just gotten used to that flat sound in the church, and all of a sudden you hear the system working again. And I think he actually beefed it up a bit too. I think he made a few little changes.
It was a bit loud, yeah.
A bit loud for kind of an empty church. When you're full of people absorb the sound. There's only 50 people there. So there are two questions I want to quickly address. One came in about using tongs to touch the host and to pass them on. Although probably technically better, the bishop has taken a pretty strong line. It's kind of interesting. As this thing was unfolding, I have to give credit to our Bishop Pendergast. There are two things he insisted on. That the priests, when they're actually celebrating Mass, didn't wear a mask. So you had to be you, and you couldn't wear gloves because you have to touch. I think he has a sensibility of the incarnation and of tactileness. And it's basically, if we can't do that and hold on to the integrity of the Eucharist, then we're not ready to do the Eucharist. And I kind of admire that. I have to admit, part of me is like, oh man, just give me anything to do this. But I thought he held a good line on that. So using tongs or something, it becomes not so much disrespectful because we're really trying to do it right. But if I can't, now you can do this if you're careful. I don't know if you found that, like you're giving out communion in the hand. We're going to have to just I'm sorry, I know there's two ways to do this, but for now it's going to have to be in the hand. But you can place it in a person's hand and kind of just be a little careful, and there's no physical contact while wearing a mask. I think that it kind of covers it.
Yeah.
I was just getting a little feedback too. Someone went to St. Mary's this morning. I guess they had a number of masses this weekend, and apparently it went quite well, and they seem to be impressed by it. So I'm happy to hear that. I know St. Maurice's just before Mass. I saw a live feed. I think Alan McDonald, Father Alan, was preaching. So I think it's nice to see that some of the companions. We're really lucky here. We have 3 priests, but helping out and kind of pitching it in. So yeah, it seemed like it went. So far, I'm hearing good things. People are gracious, and we're back in church now. Be it awkward, be it limited for now, but it seems to be working. So there it is. Now, what happens going forward? Well, I think Devin seemed to be amused by my response. So we're probably going to try based on, I haven't even had a chance to debrief. Like I had a very quick little chat with some of the people that were helping us, and some of the feedback we were getting. So there's one or two little things we need to sort out, and that's good. So our real kind of public element of this is probably going to roll out next week. Now, what does that look like? Probably 2 or 3 masses, but you see, it's not a question of how many people. I have to have a crew for every mass. I have to have people ushering because this is different. I have to have people trained up a little bit on what's happening, and then people cleaning afterwards. So I'm thinking a Saturday night mass, which we'll tape, and that will be like our broadcast mass. A Sunday morning mass, like at 10 o'clock, kind of like we did today. So to split the difference, so the 8:30 and the 10:15, we'll just put it at 10, something like that. We can. The time's a bit arbitrary, but that's what I was thinking. And then maybe a 6 o'clock Sunday night mass, and it gives us lots of time after each one to clean the church. There's a sense called cool off period where you just let the disinfectant do its job. You kind of anything that's there could die. There's some question how long this stuff can really live. I think it's longer than 6 or 7 hours, but nonetheless, you're not like when we have the 8:30 to the 10:15. That's not much turnaround.
Yeah.
People are leaving, people are coming. We want to avoid that if we can.
There's a little comment there from Patricia. She was surprised that someone was able to receive wine from the cup.
Yeah, you want to explain that?
The reason for that was because those two people were celiac, and they're both from the same family. If you notice, we had a separate chalice, so we knew about this. So we prepared a chalice that was separate. Nobody touched it other than that family unit. So technically one person.
And we had that designated to Joshua.
Yeah.
So it was, there's a timing issue. That, again, normally that's about when they come up. I saw them come up a bit early, and I felt almost like a little embarrassed for them because these, 2 young women are there, and you're kind of at the front, and this thing seems to be going on for a little while. So we tried to speed it up a bit, but that's the idea. Yeah, they can't receive any other way. And so that's fine, as long as we have a separate chalice for them. We same thing as giving out communion. You do your hands. Joshua put on his mask. He gives them, only them, and then I received afterwards and purified it. It's still a little risque, maybe, I suppose, but I think it's the only way we're going to be able to do it. So we have about maybe 1, 2, 3. I can think of 5 people in our parish. That's the only way they can receive. So we'll have to work our way around that. All right, any other questions here? Everyone was given wipes.
St. Mary's.
Oh, wipe down where they were. That's interesting too. Before they're leaving. Interesting. It's not quite the protocol. See, the thing is, I was watching like Lori was, again, we're coming in here and we're doing a TV show. They were cleaning the church, and there's a whole protocol to that. And even like sprays. This is interesting. Okay, never knew this. A lot of people are selling easy spray. Bad idea. There's a whole way that disinfectant works, and it has to be wet, and it has to be wet for a certain amount of time. Remember, not just a cleaner, but a disinfectant. So when you spray it, it's not so good. Now, wipes are better than sprays because it actually makes it moist. What we're doing is using a solution of with water and disinfectant, and you put a cloth, and you wipe with the cloth, and it's now the dirty cloth. It goes in the dirty bin. And you start with another cloth. And it's the way that they do it in hospitals and in nursing homes, which of course any kind of medical thing. So that's kind of the standard. So yeah, it's a bit more than that. So yes, I mean, there's nothing wrong with bringing your own wipes and being kind of conscious of that. I know people like in airplanes, it's gonna be a long time before I get on an airplane without, wiping down the surfaces and that kind of thing. A lot of people travel a lot. We're doing that for years. But I think we're gonna have to have a standard, because again, what might be okay in one case, or kids help out, and again, just going to be saying a little frustration. Touch your nose once, and this whole thing doesn't mean anything anymore.
Yeah, I touched my nose. Not
yeah.
Good.
No, I didn't touch his nose, because I know better, and he didn't touch my nose, which is hard because I have a pretty big nose. But yeah, I mean, it's just becoming conscious of that. It's hard. There's a cartoon I thought was pretty funny. It was a guy and his dog. I can almost imagine. Okay, you be the guy, I'll be the dog. So, and the guy is wearing one of those cones that you put on dogs when they have infections and you don't want them to keep messing with it. So the man was wearing the cone, right?
The cone of shame.
Cone of shame. And the dog is looking at him kind of somewhat sympathetically saying, it's for your own good. You keep touching your face. So that was kind of funny, kind of thing.
I saw that one, yeah.
That's kind of good. But that's the idea. Like we touch our face. I forget. I saw that sometimes like 60 times an hour or some crazy thing like that. Learning not to do that, and that's all part of it. So it's good.
Get a new name for you instead of Arsenos.
Arsenos, yeah.
Arsenos.
It's aerodynamic. It's a sailing thing. It kind of helps me to orientate to the wind.
Yeah,
It's true. All right, lots to
It's-
consider. So, between masses, the sisters also do that. Where's that coming from? I'm not sure.
Cindy Walker. She was
Yeah.
at St. Mary's.
Same areas. Okay, good. Yeah,
Yeah, that's good.
that's good. And again, when it's
Putting it to good use.
but as you say, it's not just cleaning, right? We all kind of know cleaning, and this is a system that you have to follow and a protocol to have to maintain. Now we were talking about this earlier at Mass too, just to kind of fill everybody in. That do I really think that anybody in that building had the coronavirus? No, I don't. And frankly, if we thought someone did, either we'd ask them to leave or we wouldn't have Mass. This is a little bit over the top, but we have to go over the top to create the awareness that we live now in a culture and environment where there's unseen things that can make us sick and potentially kill us, particularly those who are seniors and those who might be immune compromised. Now that's about half the parish. Sorry, folks, that's just the way it is. So we've got to get better at this. And if going a little overboard potentially at first, now overboard's a quote, because we weren't overboard. Remember, this is the protocols this is the conditions we were given to do this.
By the ministry.
Yeah, you almost gotta just accept that and don't fight it. Like I think I caught myself a number of times in the last couple of days saying, "Oh, come on, couldn't we just do it simply? Or isn't there a better way to make it happen?" But you have to kind of embrace it and say, "Okay, this is the conditions to do this," and we're so blessed that we have people that will hold us to that standard and say, "Look, you could. I mean, we can do this better. You can be safer. You can actually do this. You're really, really close. Here's a couple extra things that you really probably didn't think about. Or you don't understand that you could do so many things right and one little thing wrong, and that's going to be enough to make people sick. So we just got to get it right, and it's going to take a while. And I felt like a traffic cop at communion, like stopping people, and we're trying to flow in the direction that you came in. And normally, if you cross over, it doesn't really matter. But in this case, it was really kind of important. The people on one side go back to where they came from, and the people on the other side went back to the people we came from. And though we tried to blend it 1-1-1, it wasn't always possible to do that. So Father John might have had 3 people in a row, and I'm just standing there. And normally it's like, come over here. But no, in this case, stay in your lane, stay on your side. It's just one less crossover. It makes sense. But I think the willingness of us as leaders and you as parishioners to just sort of step up and not be afraid to say to someone, "No, I'm sorry, this is how we do it now." It's not rude. Once we get the new flow, then the whole thing works a whole lot better.
It's a work in progress. Every time we do it, we'll get a little bit better. We'll get a little bit more correction.
Yeah, I think so. And then we just get more comfortable with it.
Yeah, and the hardest thing is because it's not the norm yet, and so we forget, and we have to constantly be thinking of what we're doing.
Yeah, which is why we also did something a little different. We had people come from back to front with communion time. So the people in the back of the church and the sides went first, then the people in the main body, then the people at the front. Now that's the only thing I really was thinking about it. I wanted don't make a bunch of changes because then everybody's uncomfortable. But the idea was because it's different, it forces you to think a bit. If you do the same thing the same way every single time, you just fall back into your rhythm, and it's really, really hard to change that. Do something different, and it's like, oh, I got to think now. Someone's going to tell me when it's time to go, and that's all it requires. And then after a while, it becomes more of a new normal. Someone said, yeah, 3 masses, 5 p.m., 10 a.m., and 6 p.m. with a sign up. That's kind of where we're going. But again, remember, this all rolled out 2 weeks before we were really ready for it. So we don't even have a way to sign up yet. And we wanted to do this mass to make sure if we were like a shambles or we were really a off base, then maybe we'd have to look at kicking it back another week. That's the ideal. Hopefully we'll have a sign up list before too long and a way of doing that. We're getting better at, because some of the way the seating works, like you could have either 2 people on one side of the pew and 2 people on the other side of the pew, or a family. Shout out to the O'Reillys. they were there with 9, but that's all together one bubble. As long as they're all in one pew and they're 6 feet to anybody else, that's fine. And it worked out fine. So it's complicated. You gotta be patient with us. It's a kind of like, think like a Chinese restaurant, right? Like, table for 2, table for 4, table for 6. Now you can put one person at all those tables, but it's not very efficient. We want to have the 1s and 2s at the double table. We want the 4s at the 4 table, and we want the big 12 table in the back. That's for a family of 12, right? A group of 12. So comparing Mass to Chinese food restaurants, I'm probably in trouble already, but you get the idea. There's a practicality to this in how you use space. So we're getting more advice here. Let's see, how many parishioners do you think we'll be able to have? I think we're probably shy of 100. I think there's a principle. We haven't had sailing analogies in quite some time, so I'll just throw out a little rope analogy. When you're using rope, you never exceed 50%. Because even when you go up 75%, so a rope can lift 2 tons, you only go to 1 ton, fine, 1.5 tons, you should be fine, but you're stressing it.
Yeah, you don't want to take it to the maximum.
You don't want to take a chance. So what if we went right to our maximum, which is probably about 100, and then somebody goes into a coughing fit, or another family shows up, or somebody sneaks in an extra person, or there could be something that happens that we don't have any flexibility in that.
Yeah, you want to have a little bit of a buffer there.
A little bit of a buffer.
So that you can,
some flexibility. And plus, poor Lori has to make this all happen, right? So, or at least had. And what we're going to do in the future, she can't. So, probably the number is, that's what today was kind of testing. I think it's just shy of 100. I think around 80 or 90. And so then once we get better at this, the solution may be to have more masses. So we could have an early Sunday morning mass, and then have the 10, and then have the noon mass back, which we used to do here, and then have the 6 with a Saturday mass the night before. That might be where we're going to be at, say, midsummer kind of thing. But we got to have crews at all of those, right? Mm-hmm. That's not just Father and I. Us confecting the Eucharist is the easy part of that. Getting you in the pews isn't such a hard part. Getting in the right pew, maintaining the distance, having the flow, doing a cleaning crew, like everything just got more intense than it's ever been before.
And we have to also keep contact traces. So in a sense, we have to know who's coming. So if in case there's ever an issue or someone comes down sick, well, then the government's going to say, who are the people that were at this
who's
mass?
in your church, right?
Yeah. So
which
we have
is the
to
new
know
normal, right? When you
this.
go to a hospital, you sign in. When I went to been to a couple of nursing homes now, and man, it's like, thermometer, sign, how are you sick? There's like 4 places you have to sign. Who came in, when did they leave? Because they have to be able to do that. And then like 3 weeks later say, well, was that person ever here? And they know that. So it's not going to be, I saw a car come in earlier, like today, probably around 8 o'clock. I'm not sure if they were just checking the signs. It could have been anything, but I had a feeling it was someone just saying, oh, I heard Mass is on again. Maybe I could just go in quietly and just slip in the back and just, which I totally get. And I'm sorry that we can't do it that way, but it's going to be a long time before I think that's going to be the reality. We'll have to sign up, assign seating, and we have to keep track of it.
It'll make us appreciate the Eucharist a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? That's what I was saying today. Like, it's perfect that it was Corpus Christi, because it was, you'll have it's just a new reality, right? That was here. So the question comes up, like, what do we do about people who don't follow on the internet? We're going to have to find a way.
Yeah.
Maybe reserve a couple seats for that, or people have to call in.
Yeah.
It's just, I know it's hard, and I know it's not equal for everyone. But remember, we're trying to get a toehold here on a new reality for which the church was never built, and in a style that has never faced before. Whoever heard of signing up for church, but there it is. It's a new reality. Okay, anything else here now? So staggering who's able to go. Yeah, that's another thing. So as keeping track of who comes to Mass, I think what they've done now, we're going by what Calgary did and British Columbia has done, and what I'm hearing from Texas, is we have to be sensible about this. Like, it may be I know it sounds so crazy. They're something called rushes when you go to plays. So they sell tickets for plays, and then there's always a few left over right at the end. And if you go the day of and you're willing to stand in line and be available, then sometimes you can get a seat, but you're not guaranteed a seat. It's a bit like that. So I think people have to be generous in this. If you got to go to Mass this week, it may be a week or two before you get to go again. We will try to multiply Masses to make that better, but again, that's not just John and I saying Masses. It's a whole crew has to be trained, and then these people we train today have to train those people. So it's going to take a little while to get us up to that kind of numbers. The point that I want to make is something that it's a bit confusing for people. So now that churches are open, in theory, and you could potentially go to Mass, does that mean now you have to go to Mass?
No.
That old dispensation, is that still in order?
Dispensation is still in order.
Right. So what does that mean, Father John?
Well, it means basically that if you don't feel that you are not safe in coming to the Mass, or if you're worried about someone else, you're still exempt. Encourage you to, if you can, to take some time to pray, to watch the Mass on the television or on the video. I mean, I was reading through the directives. They've got 4 different phases. We are now in phase 2. Phase 2 is kind of trial opening. No one is forced to go to Mass. Then once things get better, we go to phase 3. Phase 3, we allow more people, but still, you don't have to go to Mass. And churches are encouraged to produce a video. When we get to phase 4, that's when we don't have to do the video and things are basically back to normal. So we're just in the second step.
Right.
So if you feel that you are, like that you don't want to come because you're worried about your own safety, or you're worried about another family, any concerns, you are still exempt. You're not required to come.
And be clear, it's not even if you feel it or there's a problem. You are exempt.
Yeah.
Like that dispensation will continue probably for at least another year until either there's a vaccine or we're back to phase 4.
Yeah.
So nobody should ever feel guilty about not being able to go to Mass yet. You have a dispensation from the bishop, official, and this is just these early starting to get back into the rhythm things. But obviously we're not all going to be able to do it, and there's going to be some restrictions, and so there's no obligation yet. Now I hate saying that because I spent 25 years trying to get people to go to church, and now I find myself trying to keep almost people from going. But remember, it's going to take a little while for all this to go.
Yeah.
I see a question about daily Mass. Okay, on the head of it, daily Mass would seem simpler, right? So less people generally go to daily Mass. Wouldn't we just roll those out? It ain't simple anymore. I have a less resource to work with. Mm-hmm. So remember, there's got to be a cleaning crew, and there's got to be ushers at all Masses. That's the only way this is going to work. So probably for the foreseeable future, we'll continue to video the Masses. That reality will be in place, as far as I can see, for a year at least, and probably beyond. I think that's just the new reality. We've built our system of showing Mass. We still need some cameras that we're going to change and some other things. But we built into the system the idea of the future where we will be able to stream pretty much everything. Like the funeral I had on Saturday, we streamed that. We just used my iPad. The sound wasn't great, but I think the basics were there. I think the people could at least hear what was going on. That should be normal. Like, why wouldn't we do that for most funerals? Like, a lot of times people can't get to funerals. We can just flick a switch. It should be just as easy as turning on the PA system, and it pretty much is. We're not quite there yet because there's still some sound glitches, and remember, this is like, the CBC didn't have this technology 20 years ago. Like, we're producing media here, so it's never quite as easy as it sounds, but we're getting very close to where we'll be able to do that. So yes, we will take daily Mass will continue, a weekend Mass will continue, the dispensation continues. All that's really changing from, say, 3 weeks ago is some people will be allowed to attend live, and we'll have to keep that fairly controlled and then slowly expand that while keeping the standards that we've been given, and I think that frankly we've set for ourselves. Even if the diocese has a sort of a baseline, we want to take that and even take a little bit higher because we're blessed with people who can help us with that. So that's good news.
A couple of questions there. Daily Mass. Yes, we do have daily Mass. It's on Facebook every Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. So someone's asking, do we do daily mass live?
Yeah.
Yes, we do it.
And have been for
since the beginning, pretty
2
much.
months. Yeah, basically since Easter.
So
Easter Monday.
you can see daily mass there. Second one is, are we screening people? Yes, we are. The people who came to this mass were all given kind of a protocol thing that was sent to them by email. Make sure that your temperature is not over 100 degrees Fahrenheit or 37 point something Celsius. If you feel ill, you are not to come in. All sorts of things. So they knew what they had to do. So they had to basically do it. Even ourselves, we have to basically verify that none of us are running a temperature.
We should point out too that because this comes up, people may not be aware that we've been people who don't have Facebook. If you have Facebook, it's real easy. Just go to Annunciation of the Lord Facebook, and bam, you'll find us, and you'll see that we've been putting out. We do the 3:00 Divine Mercy Chaplet. This is what we're streaming on right now. This is also, we've got a new streaming system, so this goes to our Facebook page, and it also goes to our it's the YouTube channel as well. So we actually do both at the same time. It's again, didn't know this thing existed like 3 weeks ago, and now we use it pretty regularly. If you don't have Facebook, you can still do this. All you have to do is Google Annunciation of the Lord Facebook, and you'll get there. And if that still is a bit over your technological sort of comfort zone, let us know. Shoot an email to us, and we'll send you. It's called a hyperlink. It's very, very simple. It's just an email with an address there. If you click on that address, it'll take you right away to our Facebook page. And it's just that easy. It really isn't that hard. And if you need us to talk you through that, we'll do that. Like, we're willing to do whatever we have to make it available. So yeah, it's there. We're still. It's funny. People have been commenting on some of the changes in the sanctuary because it's been built around camera angles. Like most of the time we've been saying Mass, it's just been through my, or Father John also has an iPad. So we're just filming with our iPads. And we're using this microphone, and we've gotten better. Each week we get a little bit more comfortable with the whole thing. And that's how we've been doing it. So any questions? So Elaine always has good stuff to say. So as wonderful as it was to rely on volunteers for cleaning the church, would it be professional cleaners to come in? Yeah, that's interesting. There's been a bit of that going around. Yes and no. As long as they follow the protocol, it's not magic. In some ways, it's probably better if we have volunteers who are trained. Again, when you enter into a service, although assuming that they know what they're doing, assuming they've been trained well, we have everything we need to do this. It's just a little bit of training and a bit of awareness. And to be super clear, I mean, we've had Glenn back with us too. Now, Glenn mopped that church at least 3 times, in my knowledge, last week. Like
just 3 times?
He's just happy. He's wearing out the wax because he's cleaning so much. So we can do some of the basic cleaning. It's just the disinfecting. It's not so much a cleaning thing. So it's an interesting idea. Again, I don't want to imply that it's yes, we could, I guess, bring professionals in.
But we do have a professional. It's Glenn.
Yeah, Glenn. We have a professional. Glenn.
I mean, on the weekend, it's different. But on the weekdays, we have Glenn, so he can.
Elaine, the bigger problem, I think, I've been thinking a lot about this stuff. Churches were never built, like when this church was built, nobody ever, I think, disease management control, where would that have been on the list? Maybe 140. Like, did anybody even ask the question, how do we disinfect this building so that it would be clean in between masses? And again, and that's not a blaming. I've never thought about that. So the way pews are built, they have a lot of little nicks and things, and they're made to put your books there. And if you think about it, they're not really very well. They're made of wood, which is absorbent of stuff. It has a lot of little creases. It just has a lot of little places for stuff to hide. It's the antithesis of what you'd want. Flat, easy to clean, simple. Mm-hmm. It's everything but, and then everything's kind of individual. It's hard to see that. We even talked about this at one point, taking all the pews out and just using chairs. Now, we just put them all in. If this goes on for a long time, we may have to look at that. Now, we can take them out relatively easily now because we've replaced all the screws, but it'd break my heart to do it. But maybe that's what we have to do. Because the annex part was a lot easier because we just had chairs. And you can arrange those quite simply. But maybe that's part of it. So we'll have to see. I think part of it is is it still church? And we didn't want to take away from what you remember as your building. And the pews are a part of that. It's a part of the aesthetics, but we'll have to see for this.
Why do you have headphones on and Father John does not?
Because I'm actually listening to music. And it's just that John and I have been in the same house now for 3 months. No, actually, here's the deal. The headphones...
Social distancing.
Social distancing, yeah. It's more of... The headphones allow me to hear what the microphone's picking up. If you take the headphones off, when I do this, okay, now I hear my own voice, but I don't know what you're hearing. So this, when you see people do this, it's because it's like singers. When people are singing, they often have a monitor. They might be singing and the entire concert hall can hear them, but they can't hear themselves.
And also, he's not going to give me them.
Yeah.
He's
We're not going to share them. Now, we have a splitter already to make this happen, but it just really helps me to monitor the sound that you're hearing. And then, you know what? I'll be really honest, it's a bit vain, but I think I told you once I did radio years ago. And when I can hear myself, I can start to moderate my voice a little bit. And I start doing you're listening to KNOM in Nome, Alaska. And you can hear yourself, you could do that. So I think it enhances the quality of the sound. So I like to wear them. I'm getting Father John, I'm just getting him to sit and to talk. Like that's step one. And then we'll get him headphones, and then we'll get him kind of into the stuff. But he's getting there.
It's like I said at the end of Mass, I'm socially challenged.
Socially challenged, but it's good.
Social.
He's come a long way. I still remember the very first time we did this, and it's like, okay, John, what do you think of that? Fine. It's like, okay, you gotta talk, man. That's how this thing works. So even like what you may notice or not notice, we have a new camera now too. So it's much better. So we are like
leaps and bounds from where we
started. I still remember those first couple were so awkward. And again, even my videos, my first video was my iPad propped up on a shoebox. And I remember it being grainy and the volume wasn't good. And I almost purposely kept it that way because I wanted to improve. We're getting better at this, I think, and we don't look any better. I think that's the thing. It's biology is kind of involved in that.
Well,
so
before they could at least hide something with the graininess.
Now
they're seeing everything about
it's 4K, man. It's this is it. This is all it is. But I think that getting comfortable with this. Still, last night we're trying to set this up, and Father John came in and was helping me. I simply had the mic plugged into the wrong jack, but just to touch it, I almost would take the camera and show you. So what I'm doing now, this is the laptop from the youth department because it has a special jack that will take this camera. Next to it is my regular computer, which is a tower, and it's a whole separate thing with another camera that we use when we do Zoom meetings. Then usually over next to that is my iPad, which is the one I carry with me a lot, and that has a whole other set, and it works through Wi-Fi. Next to that usually is where my phone goes. And that's my cell phone, which is how people often text me and call me. And then over there is a device called a telephone. It's not rotary, but it's push button, but it's almost old enough to be rotary. And people, when they talk to us, I get emails, I get Facebook messages, I get Messenger, I get text messages, I get phones on my telephone calls on my cell phone, and then on the landline. So not only do I have to remember who I'm talking to, but what medium that I talk to you in. So it's kind of complicated. All that to say, this is what allows us to do this. And yes, I'd much rather be in the hall having coffee, drinking, coffee, talking to you as we do. But we can't do that. So this is the best we can do. Let's make that happen. It's good. So Father John's comment at the end of the game made me chuckle. It's truly felt that we're back at home with our family community. Okay, good. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's just, I guess it's part of it. We're overtime. Incredible. I was talking to someone I think this morning actually. I went out for a run this morning. It's a beautiful, beautiful morning, and I talked to some people that we know that they come here sometimes for daily mass, but they're parishioners somewhere else, but they're longtime friends, and so I've known them for a long time. And it's just like, I don't know if everybody finds this, but I noticed it about 3 or 4 weeks ago that this whole thing started, and at first it was like a snow day, and the snow day that went on too long, and then it actually started to affect people. I just picked it up, like an edginess, a crankiness. almost like it's enough. I'm sick of hearing about this. I'm tired. My hair's too long. I'm sick of watching Netflix. I'm tired of nachos. A lot of things that I just don't like anymore. And that's when things got edgy. And so as the Garden of Hope started and people started coming back and all the crazy work we haven't talked about that the gardens and all the work that's been done on that.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. Again,
really
huge
beautiful.
shout out for that. It's been beautiful. I just noticed that my own capacity for people has been very much lessened. Now, what do I mean by that? There's like an armor that you wear, like it's a quasi-public life that we live, and so it's not unusual for me to meet with half a dozen people a day, maybe 20 or 30. If you include everybody who comes to mass, you might see or interact with on some level 100 people, and then on the weekends closer to 1,000. And now if I see 5 people, it's almost like I don't know what to do. But that's us too. Like that, I think you're a little frustrated with this whole thing. We're a little frustrated with this whole thing. And when we finally, it's so beautiful today just to see the smiles. You can't see the faces because you can't see but you see the eyes and to
the eyes smile. Someone mentioned that to me. He says, "You're smiling with your eyes."
Yeah, it's possible. And to show affection and to see people nodding at a homily. Like remember, for 3 months. You yap into a camera and you have no physical feedback, right? So I guess what I'm trying to say is let's be gentle. I think we're all a little bit brittle. There's been this crazy sociological experiment that we've gone through that we didn't really know the outcome of. Like what happens when you lock up an entire culture for 3 or 4 months and then let them loose? But then warn them that it's going to go on forever. Like we don't even know when this is going to end. Well, you get this. You get a brittleness. You get a harshness, or almost like a frustration. We need to lead in this aspect, I think, of doing this better. Of being better people and of being kind and just patient with each other. And even us, like remember, we've been in this bubble too. Even the guys I'm sharing with, like I think we're trying to be more tender with each other because it's. I noticed that Uncle Dennis, I think he's getting a little. Somebody needs to take him out for dinner, I think, or something like that. That would be good. But we all need a little
Find
break.
Italian restaurant.
Yeah, exactly. So
likes.
I say I'm heading off to my boat. I don't know if there's gonna be any wind. Don't care. Just get in a car. Go someplace quiet. Father John's been very good about giving me some extra time. Let's all be kind to each other.
Yeah.
I
think this week was a bit brittle on all of us because we're all of a sudden we've got to try to focus on getting things going. It's like we're getting into the norm of just kind of cruising where we were, and all of a sudden it's like everything just got shifted around 180 degrees, and we've got to pivot also and try to get the church going. And there's a bit of abruptness that I was noticing amongst us, at least in our household. We're kind of like, I gotta get this church going, and
yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
So someone's still asking for the really practical side of this, like how are you gonna know? Well, you're gonna know, right? We're gonna make some spaces, and we're gonna pick a few masses, and I think the simplest way is to do it online. We'll try to talk to people. We'll get them phoned down, but you will know. You'll be told. I think you're gonna have to tell us that you want to come to mass and which one. And then we'll be able to communicate that back to you. But remember, I know it's frustrating, but this is Sunday afternoon, right? So in 6 days, next Saturday, we have to roll this out again.
Mm-hmm.
There is no system. We have to create one this week, which is fair. And again, someone's saying like that other people can access as much as possible, or maybe someone's got to help you with that. And there is nothing in place. Now we can get one. We have an idea what we want to do, and we're going to roll that out fairly soon. It's going to take not 6 days. It's going to take a month to really kind of get into this new thing. And then God willing, there probably will be a second round of this whole virus. So they say the second wave.
They're saying there might be one rolling out in China right now.
Right now, we'll see. What will that? Okay. That's we don't know. We have to be as ready as we can be. So there is no simple, easy answer because we just cracked the first little step here. So give us time. we'll try to come up with something, and eventually, like everything else, we'll find a system that works for us and a way to do this safely and consistently and as fair as we can. But it's going to take some time.
Yeah.
We can't just it's not a
please be
turnkey thing.
patient.
Open the doors and great, we're back in.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work that way.
No. The norm is not the norm anymore.
Yeah, the new normal.
Yeah.
People ask you about volunteering for helping. I think, again, this is the thing. Saying that on a Facebook chat is one thing. When you email us with your contact information to the parish, to myself it could be, or to the director of volunteers is probably a good place. And then we start vetting those things and kind of working our way through those things.
Yeah. And there's a whole protocol you're going to have to learn and be trained in. You know, so it's not just a matter of coming in here and saying, "Hi, I'm volunteering." And
it's going to takes a little bit of time.
Takes a little bit of time
and we'll try to
training.
get to the people we can. Like I say, it's hard.
But thank you for offering.
Yeah, thank you for offering.
you for that.
I think it's going to go. Yeah, so it's all good. So I think we're almost a little bit over time. So the questions, we're trying to catch the questions. So we had a lot to say today. We didn't give you a whole lot of new information. But going forward, this is sort of the story. You know, we cracked the ice. We broke the ice. We made a first good step here. If you come by, check out the gardens. I think they're continuing to do some work. I think there's going to be a little bit of room in the back. Again, annuals, no, perennials. I can never get those. I always get those mixed up.
Annuals are 1 year,
Right, perennials, right. Still looking for some perennials. I think there's a list about this long. I don't know it. I feel like talking about lamb's ears and stuff. I didn't know lambs had ears or you plant. Anyway, if gardeners understand this stuff, and I think if you have some stuff that you wanted to put in, I think we still have a bit of room for that.
Yeah.
But the gardens are looking quite beautiful. And then this is going to be the new thing now. I think the next thing, if there's going to be one other little piece of news for you, I believe we can now, because even this changes. Like for the funeral, like you can now put more. It used to be 10. It was pretty strict. It used to be 5, and then it went to 10. Now I believe funerals are up to, again, like today, it's like 1/3 capacity, so closer to 50. So I think we could start talking about having adoration. And having people come into the church to pray.
Probably not this week.
Probably not this week. You know, I've already been talking with Deacon Mark, and he wants to start his Tuesdays again. But we're thinking more than just Tuesdays. You know, and then trying, if we have a daily mass, maybe it's going to be Wednesday, but Wednesday evening. You know, so more people can actually attend that or participate in it. So, but we do think we're getting closer to a place where we'll be let you know. We want to try to be consistent. So say Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, say in the afternoons, the church will be open for prayer, and you'll be able to come in as long as you remain social distancing. And again, we have to be aware of that. That's part of why we moved the Blessed Sacrament to the center, because now the whole, you just can't fit into the side altar. It's, you know, where we have the reserve
Chapel,
normally,
yeah.
chapel, yeah. So now the whole church becomes essentially a chapel for that, for worship. So, and just to see it, you know, again, for many of you haven't seen this before, not there yet, but we can put it out as soon as we know more from that.
Almost, but not yet.
Oh yeah, I know it's been like months of that, but
You know, one more thing just before we maybe wrap it up, because it's getting close to an hour. Please keep praying for us.
Yeah,
you know,
please do
pray for things to start moving, that churches be opened, that people be healed. You know, God help us.
yeah, indeed. There's a line I used in the homily today. I didn't talk about it in the recorded homily, but the live one. There's a priest here in the diocese, Monsignor Hans. He's quite famous. Very, very bright. He's really funny.
He's got 2 doctorates.
At least 2.
And he
Yeah,
teaches
2 that
at
we
St.
know
Paul
of. Yeah,
University.
he's very, very good.
He used to work in Rome for the CDF,
Oh, good.
Congregation of Doctrine and Faith. These are the Vatican Doctrine Police.
Yeah, pretty much. They're pretty
You know, Cardinal
sharp.
Ratzinger was Pope Benedict was the head of it.
But he had a great line at the meeting. He quoted and said, you know, he kind of said it funny because he's German, and so he's kind of translating as he's talking into English. He said it's kind of wrong to say use the pandemic. He said, well, don't waste it. You know, we've learned a lot in this last 3 months, and we've been pushed a long way. Let's not give that away. You know, like let's that yearning that you have for the Eucharist, that
Yeah.
new appreciation for church. that new appreciation for freedom and just being able to do what you need to do.
Yeah.
Let's not give that away and go right back to, well, I want what I want. But really, don't be afraid to let God speak into that. And let's all grow up. And think this is the stuff we were talking about last year. Yeah. It just happened a lot faster than any of us were expecting.
Well, it's like I say, absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Yeah,
and we've had a tremendous absence of the Eucharist, you know. So, and we realize how important it is. I think to some degree maybe we've taken it for granted. Well, the absence should help us to appreciate it and yearn for it that much more.
That much more, and patience, because it's going to be a little bit longer. All right, so the good Lord watch over, guide, and protect you. May the saints and angels intercede for you. May our Blessed Mother indeed wrap you in the mantle of her peace. May Almighty God bless you and keep you in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Go in peace.
Thanks be
to God. All right, God bless you all. Take care.
Take care. We'll see you next week.